So today what I wanted to talk about is what we're dealing with currently, which currently we had to make the decision. Either we were going to renew our lease where we are for one more year, or we were going to move. And that was all contingent on what they were going to do here. So with the rental market out here in Atlanta, it's very funny. They go off of what the other one does, right? So if you're in an area where the market value has gone up, they think it's okay to just raise their rent, right? Which, okay, possibly the market, there's a new Walmart here, there's a Starbucks here, I get it. But if you didn't upgrade nothing in that crib, why do you think it's okay for you to just raise the rent when the home is not valued that? I've been looking around at some places as well as going to talk to my landlord to see what is the new rent here. And when I realized that they said, okay, they want to renovate this unit. So what they want to do is I can either go to another unit so they can renovate this unit or do this on a month to month. A month to month adds an additional $500 on top of your rent every month, okay? An additional car note on top of your rent. An additional 2 or 3 bills on top of your rent is what they are telling me right now. So I have to decide whether is that worth it. You know, of course, I'm already thinking I might have to up my rent anyways, because if I want more bedrooms for my kids to have more space, and also a full out office so that I don't have to have my workstation and everything that I do in the bedroom, which is okay, but eventually I would like to have like another room in the house that I can turn into like my office. So that's what I'm kind of contemplating. So I started going house hunting. I said, let me go and look at what's out there. So I started looking on the market at things that's out there. And I went to 2 specific houses. I want to talk about these 2 houses because if you don't really look for red flags, you will get got out here, okay? Because these landlords are no joke, all right? Some of them have this thing where they'll collect a lot of rental applications already knowing which one they're going to go for. But if they could collect an extra $600-700 in application fees, let me do that. But you don't understand that you have people out here that's paying application fee, and they're just getting denied. Or, oh, I approved someone else already. So now I'm out of already $300-400 just off of 2 days of doing some applications. I remember years back when I applied for a home, I ended up spending about $1,200 in application fees until I finally got a home. All right, not even paying attention to it, just doing it because you're just trying to get a place. And when you realize it, it's like, no, that's ridiculous. That's like half of your rent. So I started to be very particular on how I search for homes now. I don't just go and I'm looking and okay, denied, or not even denied, but I rented to someone else, so you gotta go somewhere else. Lost that money, just gone, nothing back for it. It ain't no refund. You just gotta lose it. So I'm like, okay, I realized that that's what that was. I'm not gonna go down that road. So I look at homes, I speak to the landlords, I speak to them in detail. Is there any other applicants on this rental right now? Because I'm not gonna waste my time and apply for it if you already tentatively may have someone. You know, you got a pool of 10 applicants, you telling me not one of them is approvable? Nah, I think you trying to get off on me. So let me just wait, and if you call me back, then that means you didn't rent it. If you don't, then that means you did. Couple of people ain't called back. Couple of people I called back and they rented already. These 2 people, this one lady, she was really desperate, really desperate to try to have someone. I think the home's been on the market for months, and she's just really ready to go with anybody, right? That got their money up front. Let's go. So it was me and this other lady. I'm not really ready to move until between the 20th and the 1st, right? Because that's when my month is up. And she's like, well, I have people that's ready right now. Okay, so let them go. 2 days later, she ringing down my phone, calling me, oh, I got the keys now. You can come look at it. I thought you had somebody. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me go look at it. So I go to look at the home. And first of all, there was a lot of things in there that needed to fix. The tenant just gave her the key, just moved out. So you got to clean it, you got to repaint it, you got to make sure that the pest and all that stuff is good, because we in the country, so you got to make sure that certain things are good in the yard space and things like that, especially for the kids. So I get there and this lady is like, whistling through the house and trying to just walk through. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. What do you mean don't worry about that? That's a hazard. Are you going to fix that light? Are you going to fix that flooring? Are you, and she's like, well, no, I read now. I got it right now. She's kind of not really speak English fully. So she's just like, rent now. I have to rent now. And I'm like, I understand, but these things has to get done before I give you any deposit. And she's like, well, I have other people that want to rent. And I said, you know what? Let those other people rent. And they walked in right after me. And I said, y'all go right ahead. I said, if you're willing to talk about the things that you will repair, then you can give me a call back. So the people get it, go in, I leave. And about 15, 20 minutes later, she calls me back and she was like, do you want the house? And I'm like, first of all, your attitude, no, because I do not even want you as a landlord, okay? I don't want the house, okay? Well, I could fix this stuff. I could fix it. It just may be 1 or 2 months after you're in there. No, it doesn't work like that. And then you want me to give you $2,500? You want me to give you $25 for deposit and $25 for rent? And I got to come in here and patch up? No, it's not going to work. So you are a definite pass. So the next house I go to, really nice lady. There's already a mother and a son that lives in there. They're waiting to close on their house and they're moving out by the end of the month. So I don't like the fact that the rooms are as small as they are, because I have multiple kids in rooms. But for me, this is the biggest thing for me, is to not take them out of the school district, because they go to really good schools. So and out here in Georgia, every area is zoned to a school cluster. So I don't want my kids to have to change schools. In this house where it's at, the schools are exactly the same. I don't have to change their schools. The school buses will come to the house and pick them up. Actually, they don't even have to walk to a bus stop. So those two things are what made me be like, ding, 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 ding. That's the one I'm looking at. I go in there and the kitchen is not upgraded, which for me, it's like, I cook every day. I need to have a decent vibe up in my kitchen, so it's not upgraded, but it's not horrible, but it's not upgraded. So I would definitely have to do some things in there. Like I'm like, what's going on with this stove and refrigerator? And she was honest with me. She's like, it's an older lady, and she's like, she's not really able to put into upgrades and things like that, because she has to fix the roof, because there was a leak on the roof out here in Georgia, rain season. After a couple of years, you got to change these roofs out. So she has to change the roof, and then she's gonna deep steam the carpet. What I love about this house, it has one of the old time thick plush carpets in there, which is like what's in my mom's house, where it feels like you're walking on a pillow, and it's still such in good condition. So that I really like. So I'm looking at those things, and then I'm looking at the fact that the rooms are smaller. The master room is not small, so that's good, but the bedrooms are a little bit smaller. They can still fit their beds. They just ain't gonna have all of that space that they usually have. But the good thing is that there is a front yard, so if they want to go outside, they can go outside. There is a little backyard, got a forest in the back. I'm a little nervous about it. Got a little fence, but it's like one of them little house on the prairie fences, so if there's any deers back there, they could jump out. But if I put something back there where they're just out there, maybe like a fire pit or something, and we're out there together, then I don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. And then it has a huge garage that I wouldn't even park the cars in there. I would turn the garage into like a little hangout spot or whatever. Some people come around, because I don't really like people sitting all up in my living room and stuff, so we could find a spot to chill. And it doesn't really have another family room, so I can't have like that separate, room that no one goes into, and then the family room. So that, of course, will come when we get a bigger house. So I'm looking at it like, okay, it's right around what I'm paying here, maybe $100 or something, a little more, and it's giving me a house. Still have the 2.5 bath, which I already have here. It has a dining room, which I kind of have here, but not really. It's kind of like isolated, so it's a room itself opposed to open like in here. which I like the open space, but I would like the open space more on a home that's huge. So this being as small as it is, it's kind of okay to have those areas. And I'm looking at it like, okay, typically I want to go up a bedroom when I move here, but this house only has 3 bedrooms still, so I would still be in a 3-bedroom. And I'm looking at it like, okay, well, if my goal is to be able to try to buy a house within the next year, 2 years max, I can rock out in this house until then. By then, Joy will be a senior, and my goal is to really try to find a house still in this cluster. So it'll take some time because people don't just move out of these areas like that. It's not something that just happens, you know, it takes time, right? So, and I want to look, I want a nice home, and I want to take my time and look for it. If it's not a new build where I'm building it from the ground up, I'm telling you what kind of cupboards I want in there. I'm telling you what kind of flooring I want. If it's not that kind of neighborhood build up that I'm getting into, then I'm going to look for a really nice home that's upgraded, a great structure, great yard space. Duluth doesn't really have a lot of open land homes, so that's another thing that I'm contemplating in buying. So I even in the fact of if I chose to buy in a different city and relocate in a different city, I may have to stay at this home until at least I'll have to make that change when Joy finishes high school, because I would want her to at least finish high school. So all of these things is a part of the decision making of moving, and that's what people don't understand. It gets really difficult. If you're just trying to move and don't care, then that's on you. But I can't, because I went through that with my older kids, and I watch how it affects them when they have to move from schools and make new friends, and it weighs in on the kids a lot more than you think. And especially with my kids, they're part of the school teams. So like Joy plays basketball. So if we go to another school right now, she about to go play for the Ops, and she don't want that. She looking at me like, Ma, you really gonna make me go play for Meadow Creek? And I'm like, I didn't even look at it like that. I was just looking at it like, yo, they got cheaper houses over there. Let's go. She's like, I can't. Mom. And I just had to say, you know what, baby, I understand. So it's a journey in looking for a home and relocating. And one of the things that I'm also really, really like on is the fact that if you tell, I need to know who the owner is so that I can research to see if you're lying or not, because I was scammed years ago. I just started working at the car dealership, and I was like, okay, we found this house. We had just came through a hard time. We found this house and gave this guy $2,800 deposit to hold the house, and we were moving in. Come to find out, the day we're moving in, half the stuff packed out. The real owner pops up with some cops and was like, you're trespassing. And I'm like, trespassing? I said, I have a lease. I just rented this house. She's like, oh, ma'am, you were scammed. I'm the owner of this house. I had to do a police report, everything. And this is another thing. Zelle, I like you and everything, but there's no insurance on you, because I couldn't even get my money back. Even though we had a police report to prove that this person scammed me. You know where you sent my money. Why couldn't you go get my money back? Okay? So another thing, be careful of how you transferring money to people, because if they scamming you, you can't get it back. You cannot get it back. So for me, I am very particular on certain things. It's like, I need to know the owner. I go on the state county tax site to verify that that's the owner, the year they bought the house, all the specs and things that you're putting out on your ad, it needs to match for me. Your information needs to match for me. All of those details have to match, because I refuse to be scammed again. It's not happening. So my tip for you, if you are house hunting, don't just pick up stuff off of Craigslist, use Zillow. Facebook Marketplace sometimes does have good stuff, but there's also some scammers on there too, so be careful. Just make sure that you're weighing all of your pros and cons when you're buying or renting. You know, don't just go and buy just because you can, because you can end up putting yourself in a rat hole just buying at a time where the interest rates are too high, where you're not even getting good land land. You're just buying a house on a little piece of something and somebody right next to you, and you're paying $400,000 for it. Why? Just because that area? No. You might need to go about 15 minutes down the road, find something just a little bit cheaper. If you have kids like me and you got to worry about school districts, take your time. Take your time and go through them. Figure out what's going to work, especially if you plan on being in a home for a period of time and your kids are getting older. You got to think about when they're going to middle school, high school. What are the grade scores on those schools? What is the behavioral level in those schools? What is the teacher to student ratios in those schools? Make sure all of those things matter. Understand what kind of child you have. If you have an overachiever or a child that needs that extra one-on-one, does that school have a great program in there that your child will be able to fall into? You got to make sure you look at those things. The capacity of the school. How many students are in that school? Like there's one school out here that has almost 3,000 kids. I'm like, that's insane. How do you, like my daughter in high school, she gets to some of her periods so late because the buildings are so far apart and it's so much kids that you're walking through. So it's like, you got to also think about all of these things, and then your commute to work, back and forth. How far is it from your house? How far? All of these things matter. So when looking for a home, if you do not know how to do it, first time buyers, first time renters, get some help out there. There's people out there that can help you house hunting, finding the right home. If you don't know what to do, how to fill out applications, look out for those things. Also within our community, we'll have resources for those as well. All right. So as we tell all of our family members, be the best version of you.